Hey guys, so in my previous video I told you guys that my Jag was in for some repairs to be done, and I have the car back now, so I'm going to tell you guys a little bit more about what actually went down. So in order to give you guys some background, I got to go back to when I bought the car. The day I took delivery of the car, the air conditioning wasn't working at all. That was a Friday. I phoned the salesman and I said to him, the AC is not working. He said, fine, bring it back on Monday and we'll give you another car to use and, we'll fix it. So they had my car overnight. They gave me a Land Rover Discovery. So that's why I did a Land Rover Discovery review at the time. And I think that was around June last year. Fast forward about a month after that, I was driving the car in peak hour traffic one morning and I heard a knocking sound coming from the suspension in the left front. And I had somebody in the car with me who heard it as well. And I decided to book the car in, I think it was July, the car was booked in, and I told them, please see what it is and if you guys can fix it, because it sounds like something is worn on the suspension. It could be strut mountings, it could be tie rod ends, it could be anything. Now, keeping in mind the car only has 19,000 kilometers on the clock, so I'm not, I wasn't expecting it to actually have anything worn in the suspension at that kind of mileage. So anyway, they gave the car back to me that afternoon and they said they couldn't replicate the noise, they couldn't replicate the jarring sort of vibration coming through the steering wheel, keeping in mind that this knocking sound happens at around 10 kilometers per hour when you're in bumper to bumper traffic. It's only when you're going very, very slowly that you actually hear it, and it sort of goes tuk, 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 tuk. And that's the explanation I gave them. In November the car went in for its service, and now keeping in mind all this time the AC's been working fine. It's been working great, and they told me that it was a loose wire on the AC and that is why it wasn't working. So in November I took the car in for its annual service, and again when I booked it in I said to them, please attend to the knocking sound on the suspension because it's still there. Now, between July and November I'd fitted the dash cam to the car, so the first time it was there I actually couldn't check any footage to see whether they actually test drove the car, or whether they even tried to fix it. So anyway, I got the car back, and again they told me we tightened the suspension, we checked for anything that might be faulty, we couldn't find anything wrong with the suspension physically. We test drove the car and we couldn't replicate it. So I said, okay, fine. I drove home, I took the dash cam footage, put it on my laptop, but I didn't look at it yet. I think about a week later I was driving the car and I heard that knocking sound again, and then when I got home I thought, let me go look at the footage and see, did they actually try and fix it? And I could see that the quality manager was driving my car with the technician in the passenger seat, and he admits on the video that he can hear a noise, but he clearly says, it's not so loud though. Now, I didn't tell him it was a loud noise, I didn't tell him it was a soft noise, I just said there's a knocking sound on the suspension, and if anything is knocking on a car suspension, something is worn and it has to be replaced and it has to be fixed, because it's only just going to get worse. He then tells the technician, just write on the job card that you checked the suspension and that you tightened all the bolts. And then I was very angry because I felt that I'd been lied to and that my complaint was not being taken seriously. But it was the end of November, we were going into December, so we had people coming to stay with us over Christmas, and I thought, you know what, I'm going to deal with this whole scenario in the new year, so I left it. In the meantime, the AC started acting up, and when the car is stationary at traffic lights, the AC gets very, very cold. And then when I get moving on a highway, or even at 60 kilometers per hour, it gets gradually warmer. Now, it doesn't get warm, but it's just less cool. you know, it doesn't cool as efficiently as it should. So if I had to put the car in auto and I put it on 22 degrees, which I normally do with my cars, so when you start the car, it blasts cold air into the car and it just brings the temperature of the car down to 22 degrees and it maintains that. So I realized that the car's AC could not cope with it. It would just stay on max and just blast air in your face the whole time, because it just couldn't get the temperature in the car down, especially if we went to the shops and the car was standing in the sun. And we had some pretty hot days here, 32 degrees, 38 degrees, 35 degrees, 40 degrees. So the weather was very, very hot in December. And a few weeks ago, I called the Jaguar dealer and I spoke to the service advisor who I've been dealing with since last year when I bought the car, and I said to him, please, I need to book the car in for, number one, the suspension knock again. And I told him about the video and what I'd seen and what I'd heard, and that I wasn't happy about it. And I said to him, in addition to that, the air conditioning is not working properly. And I also told him that when I bought the car, the very first day, the AC wasn't working at all. And they told me it was a loose wire, which I now doubt. I doubt that it was a loose wire or anything like that. I actually think what they did is they regassed the aircon and gave my car back to me. And now what they've done is I got my car back and they told me they found that some bushes are worn on the front suspension. They can't tell me where, but they've ordered the parts. They're coming from the UK. They don't have stock here at the factory, and I have to wait 10 to 14 working days. So in 2 weeks time they'll call me. As for the AC, they've regassed it. It was low on gas, so it does have a leak. They've regassed it and they put a dye in, and when it comes in for the suspension repair, they will then take their special light and their yellow glasses and they will go and look for the leak. So I can see that this entire drama is gonna play out over the next 2 weeks, and I'm probably going to get my car back after having the suspension knock repaired, and they're going to tell me, you know something, we couldn't find anything wrong with the AC. Live with it until it starts getting warmer again and then bring it back. And I think that is what they're going to tell me, and I'm not going to have any of that. I'm going to throw a bitch fit when they tell me that, and I know it's coming. So I'm not going to have any of that. I'm literally going to tell them where they stand, because this AC thing, I mean, the suspension knock went on for 6 months. This AC thing is definitely not going to go on for 6 months. We live in a very, very hot country. I use my AC every single time I drive the car, and I need it to work. And I don't want to know that 6 months from now, I mean, the car's warranty runs out in December this year, as does the maintenance plan. So they need to fix all these things under the warranty of the car and let Jaguar pay for it. They built this thing, and, well, shit happens. Things go wrong, so they need to fix it. So the other thing was the Bluetooth has been acting rather strange, and I told them that it keeps cutting my calls off, and lately it just wouldn't even connect to my phone anymore. I'd start the car up and it just tells me no phone can be found. So they said they connected various phones to the car and it was working fine. They checked the software and the software is up to date. So when I got my car back, he walked to the car with me and I said, you know what, let's connect my phone right now. I connected my phone, I called my voicemail box, and bam, it cut the call, and bam, the phone could not be found. It was gone. And I said to him, well, there's a demonstration right here in front of you of what it's doing, and you're telling me that there's nothing wrong. I said, you know, I've actually read on the Jaguar forums that the Bluetooth modules on these cars do become defective, and even the old XF, they do become defective. And it's weird because my old Jag was 10 years old when I sold it, and I never had these kind of issues with that car. I did have suspension issues, but I had no knocking noises because I just saw the oil dripping from one of the big suspension control arms, because in those bushings they actually put oil in there to give you a nice soft cushy drive. And I said, but I had no issues with the aircon. The aircon was the coldest aircon I've ever felt in any car that I've owned, and I've had close to 30 cars now in my life, and that Jag was the best car I ever owned. It really was. And I'll be honest with you guys, I don't know if I actually want to keep this car anymore. I'm thinking of having it fixed and just getting rid of it. I've done so much to the car already. I spent a lot of money on it. I just put new tires on the rear because I had a flat tire. I had a flat tire when I did the video on prepping the car's paint. Actually, that day that I buffed and polished the car's paint, I didn't show it in my video, but I had the orange spare wheel on the left rear, and then I think at some point in the video you can actually see the orange spare wheel there, but I didn't mention anything to you guys because I thought it's superfluous, really. I had a flat tire and I picked it up here in the garage, so it's just one of those things. So instead of just replacing the one tire, I wasn't going to plug it. I bought a new tire and I thought, you know what, let me just replace both rear tires because then the tread is equal and I won't have any issues. And so tires replaced, the car is driving fine. But, you know, other than these issues, the car is quite reliable. I mean, the engine's reliable, but I don't know for how long. It's kind of broken my trust in the car itself, because being this new, I mean, my old Jag was pretty old when it started giving me trouble, and it had high mileage. It had over 65,000 miles on the clock. So yeah, I had water leaks, I had coolant leaks with that car. The water pump failed, the coolant reservoir failed, I had various coolant hoses that failed. I had a lot of coolant issues on the car, and the suspension, and then obviously the driver's side window, and I can hear this window already starting to make funny noises when it goes up, and so it's a matter of time before this thing's window regulator needs to be replaced on the driver's side as well. So I already know when things are starting to fail. I've just had cars long enough to know that, and frankly I'm not even sure that the parts they've ordered for the suspension knock are going to resolve the issue. I'm currently thinking of getting rid of the car and rather buying an old Jag, an old XF. You know, I mean, in my review I told you guys that is the better car, and I actually wish I had bought one of those rather. But I've been looking for a 2014, 2015 model or late year model, one of the last ones built with very low mileage, and you just don't get them. Not here in South Africa. I recently found a 3-litre supercharge which had 38,000 kilometers on the clock, and it's a 2014 model. It's got the black pack on it, beautiful car, but they want too much money for it. I'm not prepared, and when I actually spoke to them about what would I get in as a trade-in on this car, they lowballed me. They want to tell me that my car is actually depreciated by 30% in 7 months from when I bought it in June last year. And I'm just not prepared to write off that kind of money. I want to make a bit of money on this car, at least try and get some of my money back, and then buy an old XF so that I come out square and I don't have to pay any money in on the other car. For that reason, I didn't buy the supercharge. I'm waiting for the guys moving overseas apparently, and he's immigrating, and apparently he wants to sell the car then. So I'll wait a few months and maybe he'll come back to me and sell me the car for what I'm prepared to pay for it. So yeah, I don't think I'm going to be having this XF for very long. Many of you guys have been asking why I haven't updated the Android infotainment system yet, and that's one of the reasons why, because I've been having all these issues with the car since I bought it, and I just don't know if I want to pump any more money into it. You know, I want to give them an opportunity to try and fix it, but it's a matter of time before things start going wrong. So those are the issues I've had with the Jag, and I thank you guys for watching, and I thank you guys for your interest. Stay tuned. There are some more videos coming up. I'm going to do an update on the infotainment system because there's a new one that's actually available for these cars now, the F-Pace and the XE and the XF, and there's even one available for the old XF, which is quite interesting because if I buy one, I definitely will upgrade that system, because this car system is not so bad. It could be better. The newer system with the Android Auto is actually better, but and if this had Android Auto, I wouldn't bother upgrading it. it's fine. But if I do end up back in an old Shape XF, which would be a late year model, I'm definitely going to update the sound system with an Android system. So that would be something to watch for the future if I do replace this car with an older Shape XF. I don't know. I mean, I love this car. It does look great. But when I look at the old XF, man, I drool. I just drool. And I don't drool over this car as much as I do over the old one. So, you know, sometimes you got to listen to your head and sometimes you got to listen to your heart. My heart's saying buy an old one. My head's saying no, keep this one, because it does have low mileage. It's newer, and it has an engine that not much can go wrong with. If I buy a supercharge, they suffer from the same coolant issues that the 3-litre V6 that I used to have suffered from. Water pump issues, coolant reservoir, you know, cracking, and various coolant hoses just perishing and starting to drip all over the place. So anyway, that's what happened so far with the XF. I'll keep you guys updated as things go along. And when it goes in for its repair, they will be giving me a courtesy car again. So if you see another review of some Land Rover product, and they normally have Range Rovers, then you know my car has gone in for the suspension knock repair and hopefully the AC repair. So thank you for watching. I really appreciate all of you. Stay tuned for more. There's some really good videos coming out in the next couple of days. So adios.